All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Best Self Blueprint. As you all know, the mission of this podcast is to bring on people with the knowledge, insights, and experiences as to what it takes to truly move the dial towards becoming the best version of yourself. So, this next guest is the king of work hard, play hard. He has especially made a name for himself in football. In college, he earned multiple awards such as Defensive Player of the Year, preseason All American, and first team All Conference. All this on top of winning a conference championship and leading the league in tackles and picks. From there, he went semi pro, where he won two championships and led the league in picks yet again. He's brought his work ethic with him in everything he does, but that doesn't stop him from enjoying life. And it's this ability to couple intensity and drive with calmness and fun that I know will help everybody. So to introduce Yaphay Harvey, what's going on, man?
Hey man, thanks for having me. Appreciate it a lot.
You bet. I'm excited for this one. As we were just talking about before we hopped on, I want to start by diving into your mentality around like work hard, play hard, and the balance you found. How are you able to turn on that extra gear, that extra level when you need to, but also have the wherewithal to be able to turn it down when you know it's time to relax, recoup, celebrate, do all that?
Really, it starts off right away in the morning, man, because you have to think about it. Like my thing is, okay, what can I do to get 1% better than I was the day before, right? So my mentality is like, okay, all right, what is that you got to work on? All right, is it speed? Is it change direction? Is it the lifts? Is it this or that? And you work on those things. And really, when it comes down to it, it's a matter of being truthful to yourself. I think a lot of people aren't necessarily truthful to themselves. They kind of live in a fantasy world, so to speak. And that's what I try to do all the time. Like, you know, you ask people around my life, like I'm very, very in tune about the things that I have to work on, rather than just being in shape, rather than just working on certain things. So when the only time I turn it off is when I feel as though I did absolutely every single thing that I needed to do in order to say, all right, I deserve this time off. You know what I mean? I think I never want to go to bed or sit down and watch TV and have in the back of my mind like, oh, you did not do that or you did not do this.
Yeah, so there are a couple things in there. The first one is that 1% better every day. I think that's where a lot of people get deterred and down on themselves is they think they should get 50% better every day.
Right.
And over the long term, that's really just a stretch. I mean, if someone can do it, by all means, let me know, but I haven't quite cracked the code. I don't know anyone who has, but like you said, like just pick one or a few areas of your life where you can just level it up a little bit, just a percent or two on a daily basis. The other thing I want to dive into, because I know you're really good about this, and you talk about you are, most people say you are your worst critic. I like that you say you are your best critic.
Yeah.
Dive into that.
Well, again, I mean, I like to basically, all right, the things that I work on throughout the week, I challenge myself with like other people. And what I mean by that is like I'll go to a boot camp class or I'll go to a place like I say it's called Spinga now. It's right across the street from Brookfield Square. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's spin, strength, and yoga all in one. And I compare like my numbers to theirs and things like that. And when it comes down to it, it's like, all right, did I do absolutely every single thing that I needed to do to push myself to be that 1% better? If I did, I can go to sleep gracefully. You know what I mean? I think when it comes down, is like, all right, do you know that you did every single thing? Because if you did, then you can go to sleep that way. I think the athletes that I follow the most, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. That man's was a maniac working, always was working out, always was doing every single thing. Tom Brady, you see, he's playing at 43. People still are amazed. I'm not, because of the things that he does in the off season. You become a creature of habit based upon the things you choose to do, based upon the people you choose to have in your life as well. So those are the external things I like to to bring into my life, because not a lot of people talk about it. Yeah, it's you versus you every single day, but it's also about, okay, the environment, one, two, the people that you bring into your life, and three, obviously what you put into your body.
Yeah, man, I think all of that is really important. Now, in terms of like the people in your life, so I've dived into this topic multiple times on this podcast, but for you specifically, what's kind of your gauge, or how do you audit, let's say this person in my life is like it's been a friend of mine for a really long time, but I just noticed they're maybe not the best for me, or maybe they're not doing what they need to do to level themselves up. How do you handle those situations? And then how do you kind of create your own customized inner circle of friends?
Based upon their goals, man. Like I'm one of the few people in my friends group that's very very small that, um, that is still an athlete. I have a buddy of mine who I coach with. His name's Billy. He is very very critical, uh, in basketball. That's what he did growing up. So I learned, based on, okay, on the coaching aspect, what does he expect from his players, right? And then I have, a girlfriend who works extremely hard as well. She uh, is an attention to detail type of person as well. My father, he works extremely hard too. So they have their priorities engaged and in line. And on top of that, it's a matter of like, all right, what's really important to them. That's what they really, harp down on, is the importance of being able to not waste time and to be productive with the time that we have. Everybody has 24 hours, right? But what do you really want to do with those 24 hours to get, again, for my instance, that 1% better, or my buddy's, instance, coaching wise, to get his players to evolve into better players so they can play at varsity, possibly at sophomore. You know what I'm saying? My father, like, okay, he wants to retire in the next couple of years. So, all right, what those things I can engage from those people. You know what I mean? I think, if you ever watch the show Entourage, right? If you, I don't know if you ever, okay, all those friends have something that they're really really good at, and at the end of the day, they honestly come together like, hey, you know what? This is why we are who we are. I haven't watched the show in years, but it's a great show.
So I've never seen it, but I'll take your word. Now,
Yeah.
this is something, it's really interesting that we're talking about what you just talked about, how y based on that inner circle, that's going to be where you're at. And like we
Right.
always hear it, like your network is your net worth, you're the average of the five people, all that. I actually heard a new one today. I'm listening to, I love audiobooks, absolutely love them. And I'm listening
Same. Do
to,
you watch? Do you have the app called Scribe?
no, I go through Audible mostly.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I
Yeah.
might have to check it out. See, I watch mine through an app called Scribe, so I'm gonna check yours out.
Okay. Yeah. I love Audible. There are some people who they prefer to get the books for free. For me personally, as weird as it sounds, I enjoy paying for the book because I want to pay my respects to the person who's taking the time to
Oh,
write it.
for sure.
But so going back to it, so there's a guy named Lewis Howes. He wrote the book called School of Greatness. And I don't remember who said this in the book, but he was quoting someone and they said, "You don't and won't outgrow your inner circle." And as
I like
much
that.
as I want to believe, like based on the effort I'm putting in, based on my mindset, based on these internal things, I could do that. But really, your ego is so attached to, like you said, your environment, the people around you, those external manifestations, I guess, of what's going on internally,
For sure.
that if you're involved with those people the most frequently, that's who your ego is going to attach your current, ability and level with. And so
Most definitely.
being able to put those right pieces in place, not like people are just objects that can be thrown around, but make sure you're developing the relationships with the people who you can push forward and who can push you forward. And so I'm so glad you brought that up. Now, people aside, when you talk about environment, like you want to make sure you're in the right environment. What do you mean by that?
Uh, so for instance, like I work out at Next Level. Next Level has a lot of pro athletes. So throughout the entire summer, I was around TJ Watt, TJ Edwards, Kevin Zeitler, Rick Wagner, who plays for Packers. Like those are guys you got to see up front, close and personal, and see, okay, how do they prepare? How do they take care of their bodies? How serious they take the workouts? How how attention to detail that they are? Because obviously they got to the NFL somehow, some way. You know what I'm saying? My trainer, who's Jake Bodie, he's trained me for a few years now, and every session, every year, I've gotten better. Numbers have gotten better. It's just fine tuning and working on the little things. Another guy who I work with, his name's Brad. He's a PT guy that's at Next Level, and he helps me, basically learn my body more and more as I get older. Yeah, I'm very very young, but you still have to make those adaptations and whatnot. So, like you said, I think when you're around people that are, you know, are evolving every year. You know, TJ Watt might actually win Defensive Player of the Year. You know what I'm saying? You got guys who are coming up for contracts, so they're scratching and grinding and doing every single thing that they can to get that 1% better each and every single day.
Yeah. So
Another.
something I
Oh,
want
sorry.
to
Go ahead.
dive
Go ahead.
into. What's up?
No, go ahead. Sorry about that. I actually cut you off.
So you're good. So one time, or like one thing I want to dive into is we talk about getting 1% better every day. Now, obviously, at the beginning, that is so easy. But once you've been playing the sport or running the business or doing this new thing for long enough, it gets harder and harder to etch that extra 1%. So, what have you found works, whether it's working on your mentality, working on the fine tuning? What are some tips you have for people who have, in their mind, like maxed out, but like, you can get better? So, what's your advice to those people?
I think it's not a matter of maxing out; it's a matter of repetition, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is like, okay, you are what you repeatedly do. Okay, so if you are putting yourself in the mindset like, all right, I want to make X amount of money. Let's say I want to make $10,000 more than I did last year. Okay, all right, what can I do more? All right, social media. Okay, all right, I already done that. Okay, all right, well, you know what? What about apparel? Apparel gets around. One person buys it, another person buys it, another person buys it, right? Okay, you did that. Or you know what, the old school way too. It's going to sound weird, but going around the malls and handing out flyers or putting flyers on people's cars. It's those things that a lot of people don't necessarily think about anymore. That is like super super like important, and that's you have to do what a lot of people choose not to do. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going up against, okay, Facebook bought out Instagram. Nobody thought that they were going to buy Instagram, right? But the thing about it, that's what's making Facebook one of the most worldwide super duper expensive, not expensive, super duper, important things that how we can even connect with people. People want to know what's going on, right? So I would use social media to like, all right, this person isn't doing that. All right, I can do it this way. The game plan is mapped out. The blueprint's there. It's just a matter of, all right, well, can I do this because this person hasn't done this? Can I do that because that person hasn't done that? I think that's really what it comes down to.
Dude, I completely agree. So everyone I know, without exception, who's succeeding in, again, whether it's sports, I know a lot of really high level athletes, whether it's business, through other avenues, I've met a lot of very successful business people, and every one of them does what you just said. They do the things consistently that other people just don't want to do or don't think to do. And so it's the combination of going back to the drawing board, like get creative with your approach, because insanity, definition wise, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's the same. If you're not seeing that 1% improvement, but you're doing the same exact thing you've been doing for the past year, few years, decade, whatever, you need to go back to the basics and back to those initial steps of like, okay, how can I rewire this? How can I alter this? So that's the first thing. The second thing is like, you got to do it, and you got to do
Right.
it consistently, especially on days you don't feel like it. That's where you
Oh
really
God,
build
yes,
that trust with
yes,
yourself, I think.
yes.
So, man, that's huge. Now, I want to pivot a little bit just because I keep thinking about this and I want to make sure we talk about it. You
Mhm.
talk about the excitement and almost the necessity of the unknown. If you
Yeah.
could just like talk on that subject for a little bit.
Well, like I read a lot. Man. I read a lot on athletes a lot. I need to transfer that more over to a little more business because they correlate a lot. It's a quote that Michael Jordan said. Like you always, I rather go in with the unknown because if I go in with the unknown, I know I have a chance. Right? Think about it. If I go into a grocery store and like, all right, I have $100 to spend. Like, man, I don't know what I can get for $100, but you just don't know until you go into the grocery store. I'm like, oh man, I got meat, I got milk, I got eggs, I got protein, I got this, I got that. Oh man, I could do a lot with $100 in the grocery store, man. So I'm good to eat for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of like, all right, you have to go in number one, with the mindset saying, hey, you know what, I got this, because even though that it's not my favorite, it is in my favor. Number two, you have to go on saying like, all right, well, with the positive energy. I think a lot of people choose to not understand like positivity is goes a long way. It's like the law of attraction. I don't know if people like listen to Conor McGregor. People think he's crazy, but the man's one of the smartest people I know. He talks about if you envision it and you truly believe it, it can come true. Like that's why like I don't know if people who watch MMA out there, like the man literally said, I'm gonna knock out Jose Aldo in the first round, and I'm gonna knock him out with the left hook, and he literally did exactly what he said he was gonna do. You know what I'm saying? It's that belief, man. It's that belief knowing that like, hey, it's unknown. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it can play in my favor, and I'm gonna go all the way for it because it can go the way that I want it to go because I have the power and I have the confidence for it to go the way I want it to go.
Yeah, well, and so my caveat to that, and I completely agree, but I think the reason people can't do that is because they know in the back of their head they're not putting in the work needed to have that level of self-confidence. So you to be able to do that, like the reason Conor McGregor is able to do that is because you hear him say it all the time. I'm the hardest worker in the league. I'm the hardest worker you'll ever meet. Same thing with like Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Be the hardest worker in the room. Be the hardest worker in the room. There's
And
a
you see
reason
how
those
they
guys walk into every room they walk into with the level of self-confidence they do, and to make the calls that they make on shots they're going to take is like they put in the work. And so you have to be willing to back up that like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna knock him out in the first round. It's like, okay, well, if you haven't practiced that left hook 100,000 times and watch the way he's coming at you so you can throw it the right way 10,000 times, you won't have that confidence to be like, oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, and even like you said, Kobe Bryant said it too. He's like, I take these shots all the time, so I'm not afraid if I'm going to make or miss it because I prepared myself to make or miss those shots. I'm not. He was like, if it looks like I'm ice cold or if it looks like that, I'm not worried because I'm really not because I prepared myself for that, the good or the bad that comes with it.
Yeah. And then I want to backtrack a little bit to what you were talking about with generating positivity. And you used my favorite word when it comes to this, which is choice. You have to choose to be positive. And yeah,
Sure.
there are going to be days, there are going to be situations where obviously negativity or pessimism is going to be the very obvious route. And I'm not going to say there aren't certain things in life that just don't suck when they happen, but you have the choice to go into every situation and every environment with positivity, with good energy, with good intention. And I think that goes such a long way into what's going to be reciprocated back. Like you talk about with the law of attraction. There's an author and a really well known motivational speaker named John C. Maxwell who says, what you hold back from life, life is going to hold back from you. And I think positivity is probably in the top three of that statement, where if you're holding back your positive energy, if you're holding back that good vibe, good energy from life, from other people, life's going to be like, all right, cool, you're not giving us that, like, instant karma, and you're not going to get that back. So I think that's really powerful what you just said.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I mean, like I said, I'm a ta- I grew up around a lot of talented people, right? But the talent flames out because there's no building blocks on top of that. And I think the reason why I've been, uh, decently amount successful is because the fact of the matter is that like I choose to wake up and not necessarily be satisfied with what I've already accomplished. That's why I still wake up to this day because there's still more out there. There's still more. No billionaire wakes up and says, "All right, I'm good at $2 billion." You got to be an idiot. You know what I'm saying? You know, every. I'll give you one more. Someone's got to be better than Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan. Why not you? Someone has to be. Somebody has to be better than Tom Brady. Why not you? It's a challenge every single day. So right. So I give you. Let me give you quick four things. One, can you wake up and choose to be better? Choose to be 1% better each and every single day. Two, can you wake up in the mirror saying, "All right, that's exactly what I did. I accomplished everything I accomplished." Three, did you go to work with the same positivity? I go to work all the time with the same positivity, And people think that I'm crazy. They're like, why are you so positive? Well, one, I tell them all the time, I get my workout in and I get my coffee. And lastly, it's a matter of, all right, doing the things that your idols and the people that you looked up to did. Because they're giving, like I said before, they're giving you the blueprint. You have rappers now, 50 Cent's books it's called like hustle something, but dude gave you the blueprint. He gives you the blueprint of how he became successful. You look at rappers like Rick Ross, who owns Wingstops. You look at Jay-Z, who owns Rock Nation. Look what he's done. And he's got you know athletes under his brand now. People are choosing to evolve and choosing to get better each and every single day. That 1%. So you never, again, that's why I said before, you never know what's going to happen. There's the unknown, and you never know. As long as you put your one foot in front of the other, you have a chance. And that's what I do every single day. I have an opportunity in these next couple of weeks to sign with a team. And I truly believe that the workouts that I put in 8 workouts in last week. And I kid you not, it doesn't bother me that I have to put in the work. It doesn't bother me. The thing that bothers me is if I didn't do every single thing I needed to do.
For anyone who has gotten to this point and you didn't burn those 4 things into your brain, and if you're not already doing them, you need to go rewind this and listen to those 4 things, because every single one of those is something I do, and every single one of those is a big reason why I can, at the end of the day, look in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm really proud of what I did today. Yeah, I'm really proud of what's gotten me to this point. And kind of tying into that as well, if you haven't been doing that and you go to the mirror and you're like, oh, well, I'm not proud of it, that's fine, but accept that. Like, don't
Yep.
try to fight it, don't try to resist it. If that truly is how you feel, acknowledge it, understand it, but without getting mad at yourself and without like screaming at yourself in your head. Just simply say, okay, what would get me to that point?
Right.
And just be objectively analytical about it. And so I think that's huge. Now, one thing I want to talk to you about, because you've done a really good job of just being in constant, relentless pursuit of your dream.
Oh yeah.
And that, like, if nothing else, that's what I want to bring home with this podcast is the relentless pursuit of living the best life you can live and being the best person you can be. And I think those are intertwined. But what is your advice for someone who's been pursuing a dream for a long time? Maybe they made a little ground, but they're not anywhere near where they wanted to be, and they're thinking about quitting.
Honestly, it's gonna sound so cliche, but it's the truth. You have to cancel out the noise. And what I mean by that, even people who are super close to you, like, because it's not their dream, it's not their goal, it's your goal. So they'll never understand it. That's where it comes in. We talked earlier. Is like, okay, the people that you have by you, that's in your circle, do those 3-4 people have a belief in you, have a belief in the self in what they do? Those are students. Do they have a belief in you, and do they have a belief in the self that they and the things that they do? If that's there, and that foundation is there, that's all you need are those 3-4 people. But there's also people who are close to you in your family. It's just like, you know, not saying that there is, but there's probably people in your family that's like, dude, why are you doing this podcast? Why are you interviewing all these professional athletes? Why are you wasting your time? No, it's not wasting time. I have a vision that you don't see. You know what I'm saying? So don't get discouraged. This is why I tell people this all the time. And a lot of people think like I'm just work out, and I do a lot of other things too. Like I said, I'm a coach as well. So like I'm trying to not trying, but I'm in pursuit of like even just giving back the things that I know, even in a different sport. Matter of repetitions, matter of okay, getting your shots up, matter of your footwork, the little things. Because at the end of the day, the little things is what really gets you that 1% better. You know what I'm saying? So don't listen to those who don't see what you see. It's like a fantasy in a way. It's like, right? It's like I have a fantasy to be a professional athlete. I have a fantasy to write a book. I have a fantasy to have one of the top podcasts. You know what I'm saying? I think what you're doing is great. I think, in a way that you're on the same path of, going down the Joe Rogan route, where you're bringing in not just athletes, you're bringing in speakers, you're bringing in other people that's necessarily going to benefit from this podcast. Like me, if I could like touch one person and be like, hey, you know what? Cancel out the noise, do what you gotta do, put your nose down and just grind it out. And if you even get halfway, then you've accomplished way more than anybody ever thought you were. That's it.
Yeah. And so I think more than one person is going to be affected by this. I think that's safe
Yeah.
to say. There's been some amazing content, but and I want to go back to like what you're talking about with like obviously, yeah, like I can't deny it would be awesome to have this podcast, like make it big, do all that. But exactly what you just said, if each time I sit down and have a conversation with someone like you or someone who's having success in business or sports or relationships or finance or XYZ, you name it, and I can take one piece of information from them, put it out there and teach it to one other person, that makes me feel amazing. And it goes back to that 1%. Like with this podcast, can I impact one more person? Can I better the lives of one more person outside of myself? Because I like to sit down and have these conversations anyways. And I think a big part of that comes down to service. Like when you make it something bigger than just for yourself, like what you're talking about with coaching, like you felt the desire to take all the blessings you've been given and turn around and pay it forward to, the people coming up
Right.
in the same environment, same situation you were. And that's exactly it. If I'm being blessed with this knowledge and these amazing insights and this inspiration, who am I to be selfish enough not to pass it along to anybody else?
Right. And that's the thing. Like there's a lot of selfishness in this world, right? But here's the thing: if we give a piece of information to someone that they can just go with it, and you see them progress, then it's like a relay, and they give it to somebody else, and then they give it to somebody else. Like you're going to see a lot of things changing. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why. Like I just want to know. Like my goal to myself is to be able to once I'm done playing for good, because I have like 6 years left in me. Once I'm done playing for good, is okay, can I go to a program, a high school or college program, and give all the knowledge that I have playing in college, playing in different systems, playing semi-pro, playing with you guys who played at high levels in college and semi-pro, who some even have some professional experience, and just give that up and see where they go with it when I pass it off. I'm good because one, I've dotted my I's, I crossed my T's, I've won it further than I ever thought or my family even thought I could even go to professionally. Secondly, I can give it off to someone that can see that's even going to go further. And third, just knowing like, okay, they have that unknown, but they have the potential to do whatever they want to do with that information.
Yeah, man, seriously. And like, I think what you talked about with that trickle effect too, that to me is the long-term goal of everything that I'm doing here, and why I bring on people who I think resonate with this is eventually I want best self, like the best self logo, the logo people see in the bottom right corner of these podcasts. I want to be like the bat symbol in the sky for self-development and self-optimization. Like if you see someone representing, like whether it's apparel, whether it's, they're watching a video, that's someone you can talk to about goals, about self-development, about, health and fitness and finance, and like really have growth-based conversations with. And it ties into what you're talking about. Like it all starts with that simple conversation and just kind of tying everything together, like getting in the right environment, getting 1% better every day, being proud of everything you're doing, and then spreading that message.
Right. It's one thing is this: I wake up every single day knowing that I got a chance to get better. As long as I can wake up every single day that way, like I said, I mean, today felt great. I have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I'll be putting in work a little bit later on today. Um, but when it comes down to it, man, I love waking up and challenging myself. And I think that's the reason why Oprah Winfrey wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and Eric Thomas wakes up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, because they're like, hey, you know what? I got a chance. I got a chance.
Yeah, and the thing I love about ET too is he talks about like when you wake up in the morning, are you a lion or are you a gazelle?
Right.
And like, I love that. That gives me goosebumps thinking about it. But it's like, for a long time, I was the type of person, like I got up and I was just immediately in that like fear-based run away from scarcity mindset of like, I'm
Hmm.
just going to do what I need to do to not fail.
Right.
And, fear is an effective guide to a certain extent. But when you're a lion and you're pursuing, the kill, when you're pursuing, like you're chasing something down, you're on the hunt. I think that is so much more effective for greatness, for, you know, pure like evolution in life, is when you're not just running away from the life you're scared of and you just want to be safe and you just want to be comfortable, but instead you're chasing down that like best version of who you are and that evolved version and that next version. And yeah, I love ET. So Eric Thomas, if anyone hasn't listened to him, pretty intense dude, but really good message. And yeah, I get what you're saying about just kind of waking up and just having that mentality. But I want to talk about the other end of that with, because we've been diving pretty hard into like intensity, focus, drive, all these like, and really great, tips and tricks for keeping that and sustaining it. Now, on the flip side of that, obviously you need to recover, you need to reboot, you need to recalibrate. So when you know you've done everything you need to do, how are you able to then kind of turn it off and be like, okay, I've done what I need to do. I know if I don't, rest a little bit, I'm going to burn out. So like, how do you then turn that off? Because there are some people who they just go, 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 burn out. And then once the burnout's done, go, go, go again.
Um, two, possibly three things. One, I like to read. I like to read. But I read like autobiographies, and right now I'm reading this book that's talking about. It's called War Room. It's based upon Bill Belichick and how he goes about drafting players, what he sees that other people don't see. Next thing I do, I like to every once in a while I like to watch Netflix. I watch a documentary. I think um, you have to, even though when you shut it down, you still have to be willing to engage in learning and digesting information from those that you choose to listen to. So I'll listen to an interview. I'll listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, depending on who's on there. Mike Tyson's podcast. People, by the way, like people, you need to watch Mike Tyson's podcast. It's a little out there, but the man knows what he's talking about. Check that out. Um, and lastly, just watching film. To be honest with you, like watch a film of myself. I'll go back to film from 2 years ago, saying, okay, this is how I made plays, this is how I didn't make plays, this is how I overran plays, um, and even watch some of my workouts too. Okay, all right, what's your depth, things like that. So even when I'm settling down, I'm still learning more. If you ever watch like Tom versus Time, dude's sitting there, he's like, dude, I could watch film all day. It's relaxation. So yeah, he's put in the physical work, but the mental work, the recovery. Like I like doing hot yoga, believe it or not. I think hot yoga is a huge key of longevity. You see guys that have done ballet, um, people who've done those Pilates, keep their core intact so they're able to play longer. If you notice, guys are playing a lot longer. It's because they just take care of themselves. So I want to figure out what's the quote unquote secret recipe to it. So just learning more as much as I can.
Yeah, so this is something I actually wasn't expecting to go into this, but I'm really glad you brought this up. So for people who are like you, who are like me, who even in their downtime, they want to be doing something that'll help
Yeah.
because they want to optimize their time. I do the same exact thing. It's very rare that I'll sit and binge like a TV show, or like I like movies, but it's pretty few and far between when I actually watch them nowadays. But I listen to a bunch of podcasts. I listen to a bunch of books on Audible. I listen to a bunch of like interviews, read, and it's the same exact thing where to me, that's my downtime. Like
Yeah.
that's so relaxing to me, but I still feel good about doing it. And those are the things you have to find, that balance of the things that are relaxing and that will actually allow you to recharge and reset, but still won't make you feel like crap for doing them.
Yeah.
Now, to an extent, like I still have drinks every once in a while. I still go out and do stupid stuff. I'm also 23, so you know, it's justified. But
Right.
yeah, I really like that point of like for the vast majority of time, even when you're like it's downtime, it's you time, try to like I talk about like the Venn diagram. Like there's the things that'll help you grow and you'll feel good about. There's the downtime, what intersects. And when you can find those things, that's how you should fill that downtime.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's that relentless pursuit to like my I don't really talk about it much, but my ultimate goal, play professionally for 6 7 years, and then I want to work my way to being able to retire at like 50, dude. Believe it or not. Like I'm like not kidding. I have a grandfather who worked at Abbott Laboratories, which is a super duper massive nutrition. They work in hospitals, things like that. He worked for Abbott Laboratories for 25 years. The man's sitting comfortably in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? My goal is to be able to just get everything that I want to accomplish done faster than he did. You
I
know what I'm saying?
like it.
I'm in competition with like I literally am in competition all the time. Like that's the reason why if I'm not my trainer, I'll go to a boot camp class, and I just want to compete.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly I want to compete. I want to put myself up against the best person in that boot camp class, like against the best instructor. You know what I'm saying? This is like that relentless pursuit, and if you can do, like I said, everything that you can to get there or even surpass there, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I love it. Big goals, man. I always, and I don't say this, I didn't come up with it, but I always say to myself and other people, like, I would so much rather aim for a really high goal and miss it than aim way too low and hit the mark. Cause then you feel good about it, even though you like, there's so much more you could have done. So I love that. So I always do a final two, but before I do that, whether it's someone who is interested in anything we talked about, someone who's just a football fanatic who wants to reach out, where can people connect with you if they have questions, comments, anything like that?
I'm super active on Instagram. I go on Facebook every once in a while, but that's for like really like family, like if I have like reunions coming up or something like that. But and Twitter too. Just type my name, Yaphay Harvey, Yaphay underscore Harvey, for Instagram, and then for Twitter it's the same thing. It's Yaphay Harvey, just one straight word. Um, I answer almost instantly because I have alerts on my phones, things like that. So whenever I'm not working, I respond very quickly.
Sweet. All right. So getting into the final two. So the first one, and I asked the same two questions to everybody.
Yep.
What right now is the biggest obstacle between you and your best self?
The biggest obstacle is being able to impress the right coach, the right team that's going to bring me in, that believes not that I believe in them just as much as they believe in me.
I like it. And then, all right, this last one. And it sounds like you've got a lot of things that you could answer with this. You have a lot of tips, a lot of tricks, a lot of tactics, all that. If you could challenge anyone listening to this, if you could give them one challenge, one thing to do that once it's done, it'll improve their life, their health, their fitness, relationships, that 1%, what would you challenge them to do where it's something they could check off a list?
You ever heard of the 10,000 hour rule?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you do something for 10,000 hours, you'll be perfect at it. I would challenge them to whatever that thing that they're working on to put in close to 10,000 hours.
I love
Because
that.
because
All
when you
right.
do that, you'll be a perfectionist at it. And the thing about it is like, and you'll feel it too. You know what I'm saying? You ever watch like I don't know if you're an anime guy, real quick. You ever watch Dragon Ball Z?
Not for a long time.
Okay, but here's a quick example. You know how like Goku, like he's trained. He wants to be a Super Saiyan really bad, and he's putting in all his hours of work, and he's in the hyperbolic chamber and things like that. And the next thing you know, like all the work's paid off, and boom, He's right where he wants to be. He's a Super Saiyan right away, right? He's the at that time he's the epitome of his best self. I think when you put in those 10,000 hours, you get very, very close to 10,000 hours. You really know what you're capable of.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that, so going back to John C. Maxwell, probably just because now he's in my subconscious, is he talked about, he heard that same thing, but I think it was something to the adage of, if you do something every day for 5 years, you'll eventually, master it. It's similar to the 10,000 hour rule. And he said, okay, I'll do it. So like for 1 hour a day, every day for 5 years, he was planning on writing, because he's an author. And he said something interesting happened at about 2.5 years in, so halfway through. Instead of asking, when will I master this? He transitioned his thought process to, how far can I take this? And so it was no longer about just a destination. It was about, okay, how far out can we put that destination, and just keep pushing the envelope of like what is actually possible in this realm. And so I love that 10,000 hours approach, because I think once you put in that amount of time and that amount of effort into mastering a craft, you're going to hit that point of like, okay, it's not like, okay, 10,000 hours, check, I'm done, put it to the side. It's like, you put that much work into something, you're going to stick with it and you're going to push that pace. And so I absolutely love that challenge. I will let you know, I will do that. Now, I've definitely put in a couple thousand hours already, but I'm just going to keep at it. Exactly what you're talking about, that consistency, that 1%. I just make sure all my guests know it would make a fool out of me to have you on, listen to everything you say, and then you give the challenge and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'll skip that one. So I'll
No,
definitely do that myself.
I just, like I said, I just take from, my favorite athletes, like I said, Tom Brady's, the Kobe Bryant's, those guys really, really do it. And that's really the common denominator. Like, everybody's talented to a certain point, but what is the thing that really separates you? That's the common denominator, 10,000 hours. And I just want to make sure that I get that, and all the work that I put in pays off, because when it does, when a team signs me, when I sign that dotted line, like I said, I have 2 opportunities in the next 2 weeks, and I'm not at all concerned that I will not put in my best. I'm concerned about making sure, that when they sign me, it's one of the best decisions they'll make.
I love it. All right. That is it for the informational part. Everybody knows my spiel at the end. If you have questions, comments, disagreements, or agreements, let us know in the comments. And there was a lot of stuff in here. So I know everybody has someone who could benefit from this conversation. That is why they put a share button on these videos. It's so you can show it to someone who can really benefit from it. And I know everybody has someone who can benefit from this one. So share it with someone. Yaphay, I want to acknowledge you, man, for so many things, but particularly your devotion to self-study and self-improvement. I think anyone who is blessed to have you in their inner circle, or even sit down and talk with you, is going to see just what it takes to optimize an area of your life, or even all areas of your life. And so I just want to commend you, man, for putting in the time, the effort, the consistency that you have, and for, I know, inspiring a lot of people along the way.
And I appreciate you having me. Like I said, it's always a pleasure talking to you, and talking about sports. And I hope the wrists and hands doing pretty good, man, from the couple days ago that we talked.
Yeah, it's healing up, so I can make a fist, all that. So we'll make sure it stays that way. But for everybody listening, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.